Hey guys, how's it going? So, this is an old race from Gran Turismo 7 all the way back in May that I've been meaning to upload, but I've just never gotten to. This is when the F1 cars were at Suzuka, and I did actually really well during this race. So, going into our very first practice session, these first few races were when you weren't allowed to use custom liveries or cars you own because of a glitch you were able to do, but I don't remember exactly. So we were supposed to take the rented cars, and we're in VR, of course. And Suzuka is a track I'm pretty well versed in. It's a track I've done quite a bit, so I know how to take the turns. So coming out of the final turn, our first time lap or warm up lap is a 1:44.4. I guess that's an alright time, but the fastest lap I would actually get before the first race I did was a 1:42.5. So not bad, all things considering. It actually put me in ninth, and of course this was a daily C race with a standing start, and you see the Spaniard doing a jump start, but it's to the benefit of me since I gain a position, and I gain another position right here, moving up in a seventh and nearly swiped, and then I do end up getting sideswiped as the turn one chicanery commenced, and I think he got spun out right there. So it was a good start until it wasn't. So I had my work cut out to me if I wanted to catch up, and of course I just get punted from the back because apparently drivers back here have no sense of awareness. And you could see right there that actually damaged my rear wing, so this was not going good, especially since I went from 9th, 13th. But this is a daily series. There's 12 laps to go, and there is a mandatory pit stop, so all hope isn't lost as of right now. So skipping ahead just a little bit, you can see right there the guy who punted me off serving his penalty, so that's pretty good for me. It's a free position. And then you could see the person in 11th just ahead, so things aren't as dire as they seem. And actually, a driver is in the pit lane right now, serving their mandatory pit stop, so that's a free position that I gain. Coming into the S's, you could see 10th place right there, and there was a driver that went off since he gets a free position, and I'm able to close the gap on this driver to try to get an easy 10th place, but he comes out of the ghost, so I'm gonna have to race him, but it's not much of a challenge, especially when you have overtake. But during this point I was just hoping I wouldn't bottle it during the Degnas, because it seems like it's pretty easy to upset the car and you're spinning, or the driver you're racing against to just swipe you because he thinks you could go two in, or just rear ends you because he overestimates himself. But luckily that didn't happen, and we're in 10th. So it was at this point coming out of Spoon that I realized I didn't check for fuel, but luckily it has 24 laps worth of it, so you didn't have to do much in terms of fuel saving, which is pretty good for me because I'm pretty terrible at fuel saving. I never know what fuel mix to put it in. Skipping a few laps ahead, nothing's really much has happened, just chasing down 10th and trying to close or increase the gap to the drivers behind me. But apparently something happens here. The person in 8th now must have sideswiped 9th off, but that's a free position for me, and now I'm back to where I'm started, which is pretty good. It could be better considering I was in 7th. But what I'm also during this is learning the track and car combination, learning where I need a lift, where I could take flat out, and I was just slightly improving on my personal best. Personal best qualifying is 142, and just crossing and going into lap 4 is 141. So I was finding time in certain sections and turns pretty quickly. So later on lap 6, I still haven't pit. I've made it to 8th because the driver ahead pit. And now I'm chasing down 7th, which I'm faster than him in this turn. And he has a moment right there, which allows me to close the gap. But he gets the better exit because he's ahead of me. So I can't really take it how I usually do at the risk of us crashing out. Because knowing my luck, everyone else, they do that. You go off, they keep going. But me, we'll both go off. So use a bit of my overtake to close the gap. I don't know, I actually didn't try, or maybe I tried to go for a move there. It's been a while. But going through Spoon in the Formula 1 cars, because you're going so fast, is like pretty scary, because you could be taking it fine. The next thing you know, you're on the curb on the outside, and now you're just spinning around. And that actually happened to me quite a few times during this week. But I go down the inside into the penultimate corners, and that's a free position. And I actually almost spun just because of how aggressive it was. And we made contact, and he goes into the pit. So you can't see the gaps when you're in VR. So I don't know how far ahead I actually am, but just know I'm in the clear because I don't see them on the mini map, or actually you're just coming in a first turn, but I don't see them in my review mirror, so that's good enough for me. So I actually went pretty long. That was my strategy for this, and I ended up in 5th, well, now 4th, since we were racing, because you still want to race, because you want to get to the pit lane first. So this was the lap I was going to come in on lap 8. I wasn't going to change anything, and this is my first race, so I'd have no idea how this was going to be on used tires, and I actually didn't even know how long the stop duration is. So I decided to go long because I went off in the early stages of the race, and I got a penalty, which I actually forgot, apparently for crossing the pit line on entry, which I do not remember doing. I don't even remember crossing the pit line. I don't know. It's a pretty dumb penalty. And it completely ruined my strategy because I was in 13th and I went up to 4th, and then I pit, and I'm actually ahead of where I started, so it would have worked. But apparently I crossed the pit line on entry, which I don't even think I did. So coming across the penalty line, the person in 9th is right behind. So I serve my penalty, and it's 3 seconds, but it feels way longer than that. And you actually lose more than that, so it's like more like a 7 penalty times penalty or whatever. But the damage is minimal. We're being so far ahead. I only lose 1 position, but that could have been 8th and maybe possibly 7th if I could have catched up. But I actually don't even see 7th on the mini map, so who knows where they were. But look, there's a driver pitting, so that very well was gonna be 7th, or maybe we would have fought on pit exit, but we'll never know now. So on lap 11, I'm actually right behind him because I don't know, he probably didn't change his tires either. I think I'm coping better than him since I seem to be faster, more stable. You look at him, and I caught up right up to him, but I think we're going back and forth just a bit, chasing him down. So going into Degna 1 and 2, apparently the British Johnny B. Good and I think his name was Jagger from what I saw, had some sort of collision, which leaves us right open, and it's Jar Jar. Apparently he punts 7th off, at least for a short bit, but now we have a 4-car race for 6, and it doesn't look to be the cleanest. I think person in 8th was trying to, there's contact just up ahead, and that's actually what I meant, what just happened to me. And now Jar Jar goes off, and I have no idea what happened there. I think I might have just been a bit too eager on it acceleration, but I have rear wing damage, so I don't know, maybe he might have hit me, and that was really frustrating because I did all this work, could have gotten 6 maybe, and it's just yeah, you could see the results speak for itself. So finishing the race, I have no idea what happened with Johnny Be Good there, but I ended up finishing 9th. Yeah, I have no idea what happened there with him. What a weirdo. You could see this was when I was still in the C-Class lobbies, and I ended up finishing 44 seconds behind first. But it would get better because I would put down a 139.3, which would put me in 5th. So race start, it's lights out and away we go. I think have some pretty good reaction times. They obviously probably got better. So and it's a repeat of the last race, getting sent off at first for turn 1. I'm just stuttering here because of how absolutely ridiculous that was. So getting punted off at turn 1, you'll see really quickly, is a really common theme here. So, and I end up in last again, so looks like it's going to be a repeat of the last race. So I decided to do a complete opposite of the last race and just pit at the end of the first lap. I got nothing to lose anyways. I'm at the end. This time I make sure not to cross this invisible pit line. Person in 14th, the Spaniard, actually ended up pitting. So looking back at the replays, how these last few months in Gran Turismo went and how it's currently going on iRacing, it's definitely changed me as a person. I'm not an angry person. I just get angry at people's stupidity now, just because I come across it so often in sim racing. So right now the gloves are off. So between laps 2 and 4 there's really nothing much, just me racing. But apparently the strategy to pit, oh, there he goes, right off. So thank you for that free position. So apparently the strategy is working off, since I eventually catch up to back markers at least. So going through the S's, actually gained quite a bit on the Spaniard here, and even going through deck, not nearly sent it into the back of him, but I'm a masterclass driver, so punts, there's something I don't do, and there goes 13 since he spins. So now it's a race for 12th, using a bit of my overtake there, just trying to inch out every bit of performance that I can, and I nearly send it into the back of him again, just being an absolute madman, definitely putting the pressure on him, and I think he was trying to punt me off. It's something I picked up on while racing. Definitely something I'm not gonna let slide. You can see right there, I actually lost 1.6 seconds behind him, which is pretty crazy. So you can see the screen dimming just a bit there. That's actually just me going out of bounds. It's like so weird in the Super Formula car, because you move a bit funny, and then the next thing you know, you're just looking at a black screen and like polygon lines, and that's something that came up quite a lot during this race. And at one point, and I'm pretty sure I'll include it in the video, it just completely blocked my view. So it'd be appreciated if they took that out. So just a bit ahead, you could see that the French guy there spun around. He was facing really sharp left, so that's going into 11th, which I guess is not good considering I started in 5th. But don't get me wrong, because driving in the Super Formula car in VR is really cool, especially during doing these online races, because it feels just like you're a Formula 1 racer, even though this is Super Formula. So I guess I should have just said it's like I'm a Super Formula 1 racer, So you can see I'm about to get another position since 10th has a 3-second time penalty. I have no idea what he did. And, he must have just been driving terribly considering he just went off into the dirt. So there's 10th. So I have 5 positions at least to gain. So just make this a pretty good race. I guess it's going pretty good right now since I'm getting a few positions considering I was in last once again. Fast forwarding a bit, I gained 2 positions, the 2 drivers in front pit, so now I'm in 8th. So skipping about 4 laps ahead, nothing really interesting happened. It was just me driving, trying to close the gap to 7th. You can see right there, 7th goes off. That's a free position for us, but that would be just about it since I wouldn't be able to close the gap on 6th, and we finished the race in 7th, so about 2 positions lower from where I started. So I guess not that bad. It could have been a lot worse. I guess it was just a great recovery drive. So I about called it right there for a bit. I did end up getting on a few hours later, and they ended up turning the custom liveries back on, so I just ended up downloading a random one off the internet by Momo_Bicky and just added my own personalizations, like touches on it. This is the main Super Formula livery I use, but it's my British GT account, so I actually don't have the main one I use. So it's time for the 3rd race, and this time we're representing Quadrant. And now it's lights out and away we go. And 6, I have no idea what he does. He just slows down, probably trying to avoid the turn 1 chaos, which surprisingly I managed to avoid, and I don't get sent off the track. 7th, he gets pushed a little wide there, but it's to our advantage, so we move in and take 7th, and then just up ahead, 6th goes too deep, so that's us in a 6th position. So considering the last 2 races, this is a really good start despite losing that position right there. But it feels good to not be punted off. So now we're in uncharted territory. We have to figure out how, what my strategy is going to be, because before I was able to, just pit at the end of the first lap because I was in last. I had nothing much to lose, but now I have positions to lose. Well, I actually did end up losing a position while after, and I end up pushing just a bit too hard, and well, you could see what happened here. I just send myself into the sand realm, have a bit trouble getting out. I think if you get too crazy on the power, you just end up spinning, and then it's just worse. And it did get worse for me because I lose more positions, so now I'm in 9th. But it was about to get worse. Look at this, just a complete ridiculous dive bomb by Nikita Mazepin. It must have been. He gets a 2-second time penalty, which is deserved because why would you even attempt to do that? There's no space. So right here, I actually end up overshooting the corner and end up sending it right into the back of him, which upsets his car just enough to send him off and give myself a 2-second time penalty, so that was pretty upsetting. So I finished in 8th. So for the next race, I improved my temp to a 139.1, which gives me 3rd. But as we're about to see, that wouldn't last. The car in first gets terrible reaction time, and I don't do a good enough job of getting out of the way, and well, you could see what happened there. I send myself off and back to last. So that last race was a write-off. I actually finished 8th and somehow managed to move my driver rating up to a B, but now I decided to just move to my main account where I improved my temp to a 137.5. And rest assured, it would only go up from here. So you can see the Ferrari driver there jump starts. The person in first gets a pretty good reaction time, so there's no incidents like the last race, and we actually end up going side by side, but he ends up getting just a bit too much of the curb and he's off, and now I'm in the lead. And one thing you might notice is that I'm not in VR, I'm on the single screen. So I just decided to, get out of VR, just see how better I would do, or like how I would do without it, since at this point I was exclusively doing Gran Turismo with the VR, and going back to flat screen was weird because I felt pretty disconnected from the everything. Like the screen felt so small and like far away, so that took a while to get used to. But so far I'm coping brilliantly. Just build up a 1.4 second gap to the drivers behind, and then by lap 4 the gap is almost 6 seconds, 5.9, and just going higher. I don't have the fastest lap, I'm off by like 2 seconds, but I'm just like absolutely dominating the race. I put in a lot of laps during the time trial sessions here, so I was pretty comfortable with the track, especially with the gap building. I was just unchallenged. Then by lap 6, the gap is up to 11 seconds, like around there, 10, 11 seconds. So I decide to pit at the end of the lap, and right here the gap is about 8.8 seconds, so don't refuel, don't change the tires. So when I come out, I am behind the best one, who is like 5 seconds ahead of me, and then the person behind is about 1 second behind, and just gaining. So the chase is on, not only from the driver to the driver ahead, but just trying to get away from the driver behind. But as it would turn out, there would be no chase, since the best one goes into the pit lane. So I think if he would have pit just a bit more earlier, he probably would have been able to keep the lead and pass me, and then the person behind me also pits. So really, the best one only had track position, and so it looks like as long as I don't drive like an idiot and just keep it on the track, I'm gonna win this race, because there's no immediate threat. Like the best one, he comes out of the pit lanes, he's 10 seconds behind already. But the best one must have pit for new tires, because just a few laps later, he's brought that gap down to 4 seconds. So he gained 6 seconds on me and counting. And then on the 11th lap, he's like right behind me. So he definitely pit for new tires. That's probably something I should have done, just because, there are faster. So the pressure is definitely on. I was feeling the pressure, I'm looking back right there, especially since he gets within slipstream range, like under a second now. So we're on the 11th lap with 1 lap to go. He has 1:37.6, so he's putting in some pretty fast lap times compared to me. My fastest was a 1:39.1. Just me messing with the brake bias there, just trying to lower that tire wear as much as I can. And then coming out of 130R, you can just see that 200ths of a second behind me, and now it's just lowering, and I nearly spin right there, just getting a bit too much curve, but I just managed to keep it on track. And now going onto the straight, we're in the final lap, and just look at the timing, just lowering and lowering really quickly. And now he's 100ths of a second behind me. So at this point, I'm just trying to drive how I've been. Well, at the same time, I'm aware that I have pretty worn tires, so the grip level is not going to be exactly the same. So you could I'm just barely keeping him in that like behind me. Like overtaking is still possible on the S's, especially in this section. So I was definitely feeling the pressure, and the Degnas and me do not have a good history, so I lifted just to try not to go off, but I go off anyway because there's just a bit of contact there and I get sent off, which is unfortunate, especially on the last lap. But it could have been worse, and I come home to take second, and the best one was actually an A-class driver, and I was a C at this time. So I think I did a pretty good job of keeping it behind, which means I'm probably good enough to keep up with the other A-class drivers, especially since there's another one lower behind, so I'm issuing out the challenge Super GT. But as we can see right here, the best one actually apologizes for the shunt there. So for the last race, I start on pole. We're back in VR and it's lights out, and I immediately go side to side with another car, the person in second. You can't actually see him, but I could see him in the VR headset. So I leave him just a bit of room. He pulls out and he leaves him open to a shunt, which in turn gets the person in third shunt. And me, I get away scot-free somehow, especially considering how close I was to actually getting shunt by the person in second. So I decide to pit on the 6th lap. I actually have no idea what the gaps are, so you can't see that. So going to the pit lane, it's actually a 7-second gap. And then coming out of the pit lane, I lose the position to the guy who was in second, but I'm actually not even sure if he had a pit. But coming out of Spoon, there he is. Coming onto the track, tires or engine smoking, so thank you for keeping my position warm. Other than that, nothing else of note or interest would happen. I just dominated the race, led every lap, didn't lose positions other than the pit. I actually don't remember if I got fastest lap, but I do remember winning this race and taking it home. And this was the race actually that I ended up going up to the B's for my British account. And then the last race we just saw where I got punted off put me into the B classes as well. So 14 seconds ahead of the person in second. Absolute domination. But yeah, this was a pretty fun race week. It's just a shame that there aren't more Super Formula type of races. And usually when there is, it's usually here at Suzuka or Fuji, which I'm not a fan of Fuji. So it'd be cool if we had one like at Monza or the Red Bull Ring, stuff like that. But other than that, that's about it. Just wanted to show you this one from like way back when, because it was one of those race weeks where I actually did really good, just to show that I'm not completely trash. I am pretty decent, as we're about actually just seeing in a few days with my next iRacing video. So until then, I'll see you guys.